All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I'm your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And we're going to follow the money today. It's official that the debates are over. Everybody and their dog has declared who they think the winners and the losers are. But at the end of the day, there are specific measurable quantifiers that kind of show who really won and who really lost. Because this is politics, people. You know what I'm saying? And there's two things that matter. Dollars and votes, dollars and votes, dollars and votes. So who got the dollars and who got the votes? In our last video, we covered how Andrew Yang was unarguably amongst independent registered Democrat Iowans who were taking a beer test, the candidate of the beer test. But who's the candidate that actually got the most all of the above data? Donations, boosts in Twitter followers, people that actually decided that they wanted to follow that candidate, so on and so forth. We're going to analyze all the other data that we can get a hold of, especially dat money, the bag, to figure out who's the person that got the biggest bump from these debates over at LMU. So, Cody, tell us what's going on, my friend.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I wanted to show, 538 put together a pretty interesting, they do this after every debate. This is the Democratic debate in 6 charts. So they go through which candidates had an outsized impression, this kind of stuff. I don't know. But this is the one that stuck out to me the most. And it said, they polled them before and after, just a favorability.
Rock on.
And I believe they polled 3,504 likely voters. So again, it's important voters between the 13th and 18th, and they polled them again between the 19th and 20th. The second time, it looks like about 2,000 people responded. However, we see the biggest bumps by far after the debate were Andrew Yang and Amy Klobuchar. Now, also worth noting that before the debate, they had some of the lowest favorability. So that is to stand for it. I think a lot of it comes from the fact people don't know who they are. They probably had a lot of no opinion that went from no opinion to positive. I doubt there was a lot of people who had unfavorable views of Yang and Klobuchar who changed to favorable. That would be weird after the debate. Probably more unaware to think. But that plus 6% is, like I said, clearly the two biggest. And they basically shared that 6% bump. Moved Yang up to a 20. Again, notice he's at 22% favor, net favorability, which would also have him in basically 5th place here behind Pete Buttigieg even. But again, I think this comes with name recognition. Also, though, what this shows, which is important, is that Yang is trending up. That's always been the important thing with Andrew Yang, because he started at literal zero. A lot of candidates don't start at actual zero. Like Pete Buttigieg started with money from the Obama backers, like I don't want to say Obama, but like Democrat
establishment.
Yeah, people that have been around the party for a while, had been supporting him for a while. Yeah. And you look at someone like Andrew Yang, I mean, Tom Steyer is similar, right? Tom Steyer is low, but that isn't the only thing. So I believe as of recording, these are the candidates who had released some funding figures since the debate. This isn't 100% complete. There might be some data about Warren and Buttigieg I haven't found yet, but I have data for Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang that they released, or the campaigns released, over how much they raised around the time of the debate. There is some creative wording in here we'll get to, but without further ado, I'll run through them. So first of all, Amy Klobuchar, clobbering time, claims to have taken home about $1 million in online donations since the debate. And this was as of Friday, I believe. Friday. So for about the 24-hour period around the debate, Amy Klobuchar's campaign claimed to have raised about $1 million. I guess it was at about 800,000, she said, on Friday night. And then I guess by the end of the day, they actually did end up reaching $1 million. So that's
hey, Boomer's got money.
That's a big boom for her.
And what we also talked about in our post-debate analysis, I'll make this quick, she had 2 interjections where there was chaos on stage, and she came in as the adult in the room and the person that was the voice of reason. So I have a feeling that a lot of people who've been, maybe not wanting to go with Biden because he seems to X, Y, or Z reason, really probably decided that they liked Klobuchar because of those 2 interjections. I wouldn't be surprised if that made some of these boomers open up their pocketbooks.
Well, yeah, and also it's just, what's the word? Out of sight, out of mind. When you see the candidate in front of you on TV, you go, oh, yeah, Amy Klobuchar, I like her. You know what I mean? I think it's part of it. But, I mean, this is, and again, I'll go back and recap the semantics here, but Bernie Sanders' campaign raised over $1 million on debate day. It seems like they're announcing it just as over $1 million. I imagine.
Now, was that because of the debate?
It's pretty hard to.
Or was it just on debate day?
Well, I mean, I would imagine if he saw a surge of donations on a day and that day happened to be the day of the debate, perhaps you could argue it was due to the debate itself. I mean, I'm sure every candidate, by the way, had a big fundraising push the day of the debate saying, hey, I'm on the stage this time, but who knows? Give me more money, just because they're always going to ask for money. But still, $1 million raised for Bernie Sanders on the day of the final primary date. Campaign said in the statement, the amount marked his best debate day haul so far, with the funds coming from tens of thousands of contributions. A lot of candidates on the debate stage last night worked hard to convince voters that our leaders must rely on super PACs funded by the wealthy and gather big checks in wine caves to beat Donald Trump in 2020, said Sanders campaign manager Faye Shakir. Bernie Sanders is proving them wrong every single day. Dude, the wine cave, man. Yeah. Everyone's talking wine cave. Even when Bernie Sanders is bragging about the money he raised, he's talking wine cave.
When will the South... When will the South Park episode come out
with the wine cave? Pretty soon. But one more thing, because one more candidate has announced how much they've raised. That is the Yang campaign. Now, the Yang campaign has raised $750,000 since the debate. This is, again, as of Friday night. So you'll notice a couple things. And they go on and say the campaign said in a statement, the total was fueled by 20,000 donations, a third of which came from first-time donors.
That's
the latest haul builds on the $2 million the campaign recently raised over a 10-day span while in a bus tour of Iowa. Again, over a week-long bus tour is $2 million, one debate appearance is $750,000. A lot of people ask, myself included, what's the value of actually being at these debates where 3 days later, no one even talks about them anymore? Guarantee you by Monday, which, by the way, holidays is one reason. Guarantee you by Monday, no one's talking debate anymore. I think this is why, because, like I said, Andrew Yang went on a high-profile, highly publicized bus tour around Iowa for 10 days and raised $2 million.
So here's
He's on a debate stage for 3 hours. He raised $750,000. Like, the money comes in. I imagine for other candidates, not just Amy Klobuchar, not just Andrew Yang, not just Bernie Sanders, the money came in.
Yeah, I mean, so we're quoting quite extensively from The Hill here, all right, which is awesome because they're the ones that are gathering the data.
I mean, all this stuff has basically just been released by campaigns as well. It's hard to verify.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are actually gathering the data and kind of watchdogging this. Here's my question. In all the rest of these articles, I don't recall, except for in Andrew Yang's article, any mention of how many of those people were first-time donors. Did Amy Klobuchar disclose how many people were first-time donors, and did Bernie Sanders?
Not that I found.
Because that's significant. And that's why Andrew Yang's... there's sycophantic people who will say, look, him passing the beer test is the reason why all the polls are wrong, and they're stupid, and he's our next president, and he's going to win, and they get ahead of themselves. They overdrive their headlights, right? But I believe, and I've been saying this for months, that the methodologies still have not been perfected, especially for these citizen politician candidates like Trump was and like Andrew Yang is, because they bring in so many people that are just not accounted for by the system. And the fact that of the $750,000 that were raised, $250,000 was raised by first-time donors this late into the season. That's a significant data set, and that shows that if there's 20,000 donors, 1/3 of that 20,000. So there's, 7,000 people that are not showing up in a system. They can't be called for the polling systems because they're most likely not high propensity voters, or they're not registered Democrats, or they're maybe not even registered yet because they're young. That's 7,000 people that have put their money where their mouth is, which is about as good as a vote. And some of these polls are done with 500-person sample groups.
One thing I'll say, though, you have to keep in mind, a lot of this is a product we're talking about. I always joke about this. It's true. Dude, if it's almost 2020 and you're just realizing you like Bernie Sanders, the dude's been running for president 3 elections in a row, and he's been remarkably consistent. I'm like, Bernie Sanders has been Bernie Sanders for basically 25 years. If you're just now waking up and going like, hey, this Bernie Sanders fella, it's like, dude, he's been talking the same things. Some people, a lot of his supporters like about him is he's been this guy for a decade plus.
And the only thing he's changed is millionaire to billionaire once he became a millionaire.
You're not going to see this massive, all of a sudden, surge in unique donors to someone like a Bernie Sanders. It's just, Bernie Sanders has his base. Somebody like Andrew Yang with the base that's always growing is going to see these lurches in unique donors. I imagine Amy Klobuchar is similar. Remember, Amy Klobuchar, she has her donors already. She ran for office and won. I mean, Andrew Yang is going to be considerably adding people because he's starting, like I said, I brought it before, he's starting from zero. It's the reason why he had the largest increase in the post-debate favorability. There's probably a lot of people that went from, I don't know who Andrew Yang is, to I like him. That helps him, but it's also going to lead, I just want to caution it, because like you said, that is unique. We're not seeing a lot of people say that we're all of a sudden have 7,000, 8,000 people giving us $100,000 over a couple days, right? However, like I said, I think part of it comes from I don't know what rock you got out from under. Where in 2020, you're like, now is the time I donate to Bernie Sanders. It wasn't in 2012. It wasn't in 2016. Now is the time. I find that a little bit like he's probably got his donors. That's why he's going to be less proud about new donors because he's got his base and more about how much his current base is really behind him. For Yang, it is important though. I mean, if you start at 0 and don't add anyone, it's bad. You need to keep increasing these people, which he's continually doing. But I guess the other thing, and again, I'm not trying to say this to be like doom and gloom, but I just want to highlight what's actually going on here as well, because Amy Klobuchar was talking about basically since the debate, so since Thursday night to Friday night, about 24-hour period, that's what she's speaking about. As you brought up a little bit, Bernie Sanders was the one campaign that spoke about specifically the day of, so Thursday. Both Andrew Yang and Amy Klobuchar were counting money they raised after the debate and all day Friday. So Bernie still did raise the most out of these three individuals that have announced. He did. Again, though, like I said, part of it's because a lot of these people probably were thinking about or did donate to Bernie 4 years ago. I mean, he has his donors already. And so I think one of the reasons why he's one of the front runners, polling very high, raising a lot of money. So, like I said, I agree with your position that Andrew Yang getting all the new donors is a really good sign, especially in 24 hours. I mean, like I said, dude, if you could raise almost as much money in 24 hours as you did in 10 days, that's really good. But I don't know, man. Just don't read too much into the fact that Bernie raised more than these candidates, but then also don't read too much into the fact that Yang had more unique donors. It's where these candidates are.
Yeah.
Bernie will still get them more money, but Bernie's not going to have growth like Yang will at all. Only because if Bernie had growth like Yang, he'd be the president by now. I mean, he would be, he'd be at 87% in the polls if he's growing like Andrew Yang was. So it's why you're seeing these differences. But like you brought up, man, 7,000 people, because pressing spacebar is free. Pressing enter is free. It's free to send your poll result. It's free to post an article. It's not free to go online and give someone money. So getting thousands of people motivated, new people motivated online to give money, it is worth highlighting. But again, I mean, it's also worth noting that while he raised $750,000 since the debate, which is good, Bernie Sanders still did raise $1 million over the course of the day the debate took place on. Not
also look at the number of
shares
shares of that article. That one got 27,000 shares. Klobuchar's only got 2,643. And Yang's only got 2,000. So he's getting 10 times the amount of shares on the article as well.
Of course, also his article is posted first. Again, it's a goofy metric. It's not like
I know, but you can't tell me that there's
I agree.
that it's just because his was posted first.
Oh, I agree.
That
Bernie Sanders is more popular than Amy Klobuchar and Andrew Yang. He is. I mean, it's legit. It's one of the reasons, like I said, to your point,
shows the degeneracy of the youth of our society.
It shows the effectiveness of branding. Bernie Sanders is, like I said, Bernie Sanders has been Bernie Sanders for 20 years. He's branded as Bernie Sanders for 20 years.
And he does have that picture of him getting arrested in the Civil Rights March.
Bernie Sanders has looked like this for 20 years. I mean, like, like this is who Bernie Sanders is. It's the reason why he will raise more money than other candidates after a debate, because people, like I said, man, I fourth time saying it, but if you're coming up and just waking up today and saying, I guess I like Bernie Sanders, where the hell are you, man? He's been Bernie Sanders forever. He didn't change, you did, right? So I think it is interesting to note that with someone like Bernie Sanders being as popular as he is, Andrew Yang is still growing and still raising money after a debate performance that a lot of people said was a very good debate performance. Remember, Amy Klobuchar, quote unquote, won the debate, and that was $1 million in online donations. By the way, is good for Amy. I'm not going to sit here and paint it as like, well, it's not. This is really good for Amy Klobuchar. She gained $1 million in a day. I guarantee you she has not done that in a while, if ever, as a presidential candidate. So it was a big moment for her, a big moment for everyone. Again, I'm waiting to get more info out because you can almost kind of read into it if candidates aren't releasing how much money they raised after the debate. I'm assuming it's less than $1 million because that seems to be the line. Andrew Yang probably, as of recording, is closer to $1 million now. But yeah, so looking at a couple specific metrics here, I think what it really does show us is how candidates like Andrew Yang, candidates like Amy Klobuchar, they're in position for big actual gains. They have undiscovered, untapped potential to their demo, right? Their base is still growing. I think like I said, Bernie raised $1 million, but I have to imagine what you see, for example, Bernie Sanders is a 2% net favorability change from 40 to 42. Yes, I mean, like, for the most part, people feel the way they do about the guy. That's not changing. I think it's unique to point out that Andrew Yang and both Amy Klobuchar are still in positions to really change how they're viewed and really grow and actually add to their base, which is what makes them dangerous. More Yang than Klobuchar, no flame. I just don't think Amy Klobuchar has what it takes to win a national election. But Yang, I don't know, man. It's looking at this stuff now. Again, we'll find out what happens with the January debate. Shenanigans is going to happen, I know, for that qualification. But I've said it before, but whenever they do these big data sets and they really ask people and they really put numbers out, everything comes up Yang all the time.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's got to mean something, right?
Yep. It's literally just like basketball. My dad was my basketball coach for like 40 different Little League teams. And he always said, keep shooting to everybody that was a green-lit shooter that he actually trusted enough to shoot. And if our percentages were down, he said, it's fine. Just keep shooting because sooner or later they're going to start dropping.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's really, really, I believe, a parallel there.
And
Sooner or later it's going to start dropping.
One last thing. I want to bring one more metric for you.
Yeah.
If you look at that money they raised as dollar per word spoken, Andrew Yang made a killing. Because here's the go. Amy Klobuchar raised over $1 million. She also basically spoke twice as long as Andrew. She said twice as many things as Andrew Yang did. I mean, this is, by the way, reflective almost entirely of talk time. One thing I will say, it's really funny. Bernie Sanders talked longer than anyone, but he definitely didn't say more words than anyone, which is really interesting. It shows who the fast talkers are, I guess. Because Bernie Sanders did have the longest speaking time, but he was fourth in as far as words spoken. Again, though, I just wanted to highlight Andrew Yang raised almost as much money as Amy Klobuchar while speaking half the time she did. Again, what does talk time really matter? What does talk time actually mean in these debates if Andrew Yang could be winning on multiple fronts after the debate and not have said a lot, right? Like, how much does it really, really matter? I know there was a lot of anger about him not getting enough time to talk, but, I mean, if when he talks, people like what they hear and he kills it, well, then who cares? I don't know. I mean, I would definitely say if he isn't getting asked questions, that's the difference, right? If they're omitting him from the conversation, that's messed up. But if he just isn't, like, numerically speaking a lot of minutes, like, who cares? If he's just getting his points across effectively, that's not bad for him. And it shows in the, the change in favorability, and then it shows in the fundraising. It shows when people actually think about it. So I just want to show one last metric where, like I said, when it comes to how much money they raised per word spoken, Amy didn't raise as much as Andrew Yang at all. you know, like, Andrew Yang had a more efficient word per dollar number.
He's an efficient speaker.
Yes.
So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We still respond to our comments. If you can, leave us a voicemail at 1-833-PSP-radio. If you would like, pretty soon you're going to be able to join and get a membership in our channel. So keep looking for that. If you want to contribute to the channel for now, just check out the PayPal link that will be in the description or on our website at problemsolverpolitics.com, where you can also pick up a cool Problem Solver Politics hat. Make sure you guys drop us an email there if you got something you want to say as well. Other than that, make sure you follow us on PSP Radio 1 on Twitter, where we get a lot of our announcements out to people before we live stream, before we head to locations, before we do some of Cody the Oracle's nitty-gritty street coverage, so on and so forth. Until then, this is Problem Solver Politics.